Yeah, you know what time it is. That's right, it's time for Rivals Assemble, a Marvel Rivals podcast. I am your host, Mark Turcott, and you are tuned into episode 13. That's right, lucky 13. Well, we got some great news here to discuss here on the show. We're going to catch you up on all of that. We have a Danger Room segment this week. We're going to be giving you some tips and tricks for Clash of the Dancing Lions. We have some Rocket Raccoon lore, and, of course, we're going to wrap it all up with your questions and topics. So to do it with me here this week, in this two-man show, Ken's, what's up, dude?
Yeah, it's just me. So everyone get ready for that. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm here. I'm ready. There's even though it's just the two of us, there's still a lot to get to. So
yeah, I think we were talking before the show. This is the second two-man show I think we did. I think Neil and I have done one before. And like you said, we still were somehow able to go for like an hour 30, hour 40, whatever it was. So we'll
it'll be the test. We'll see what it gets to this time.
Yeah.
But, here for whatever.
Yeah. Well, Matt couldn't be with us here this week, and Matt actually is going to be out probably for the next like 6 to 8 weeks, I think it was. All is fine. He just, has, I don't want to say, I guess it's a prior engagement, we could say, but we're really happy for him for what it is. I don't want to spoil what it is. I'll let him be the one to kind of spill the beans on that if that's something that he wants to do. But but he is going to continue to send in the lore segments, so don't worry about that.
He'll be gone for so long that it'll be like, if we get new listeners and it'll be like, oh, who's this Matt guy? Is he just some AI lore robot that we have that shows up and, gives us the deets on all these characters, or what's going on?
He's officially going to become our Jarvis.
Yeah, there we go.
Matt is now the Jarvis for Rivals Assembled. We call upon him when we do the lore segment, and he says his bits, and then that's it. That's all he does.
Yeah, the all-knowing AI Matt.
Yeah, we almost got him to do another soundbite for something else here on the podcast, and I'll mention it when we get to it later on. But so maybe we can get him to do some more here.
Yeah, maybe he'll get to show up in the chat. He can give us 2 cents, maybe.
Yeah. And Neil couldn't be here today, but he will definitely be here for the foreseeable future here. But yeah, he's had a little vacation with the family, which is pretty awesome. So a little bit of housekeeping here, as always, before we get rolling. Big thank you to everybody here for tuning into the show, however you're tuning it in, whether it's over on Twitch and YouTube. Here's we're doing it live. What's up, guys, over there in the stream? Or, of course, the audio version of the show over on Spotify or on iTunes. Thank you guys so much. We continue to see the show rise up the ranks, to see those listener counts just go up, all those reviews. Thank you. All the comments over on Spotify, keep them coming. Like I said, we read every single one of those comments, and we're pulling from those to create some content here for later on in the show. So if you want your voice heard here on the show, that's the best way to have yourself heard here on the show. And, of course, you can always email us at rivalsassemblepod@gmail.com. Now, we ran another poll last week. This was now our best overall duelist poll, Ken's. And if you remember, we had, for the last 3 weeks prior to that, we had Iron Fist winning our best dive duelist. We had Hawkeye winning our best range, and Moon Knight winning the, mid-range duelist, I think. And we put all three of those up to come up with who is the best overall duelist. Who do you think won, Kens?
Well, I'm looking at it, so I know who won. But I'm surprised. It's Moon Knight. Moon Knight got the win.
Yeah.
And that surprised me over some of those others, especially Hawkeye, with how, I know how much he is like constantly banned in the higher ranks that I will never see. But if my first thought was like Moon Knight, wow, that's crazy. But we're going to talk a little bit about some esports later in the show. And so I've watched a bit of esports this week from Rivals. And Moon Knight seems to always be there on a lot of teams, and people, those top players can do some crazy stuff with Moon Knight. Like it's nuts.
Yeah.
So I am surprised, but also I kind of get it.
That you wonder, is it because Hawkeye gets banned so much?
That's a good point.
Is that why? Like, yeah, of course, Moon Knight's the best overall duelist because nobody can play Hawkeye. If you're playing at that now, granted, us in the bronze and the silver,
I'm not playing Hawkeye.
I can play Hawkeye whenever I wanted. I don't, but I could. But it's like, is that why Moon Knight is just perceived that way? Because people don't see Hawkeye in those higher tiers when you're watching, any of the competitive play on Twitch or whatever it is. That maybe that's why. But I think what surprised me the most, I actually thought Moon Knight was going to get the win, especially with just kind of how they altered him a little bit going into the season. And I see him a lot in a lot of games, especially his ult is fantastic now. But I was surprised by how much he won. So 91 votes this week, 61.5%. So 56 votes went to Moon Knight, 26 to Hawkeye, and only 9 for Iron Fist.
It's crazy.
So that's what kind of shocked me more is that, I mean, essentially Moon Knight got more than double.
Just ran away with it.
Yeah. And this was early on, too. Like, we posted this poll, like, almost the very next day after we put the podcast up. He was already in the lead, and it just kept rising throughout the week, which is crazy.
Yeah. All Time Lowly in the chat mentions his ult. With that ult getting a buff, that probably has a significant factor in this, too. I know that in Season 0, the ult just kind of tickled me a little bit. I feel like I never once got killed by Moon Knight's ult, but now it's like I hear the moon haunts me and I'm dead.
Yep.
And that's it.
It's
so
just like, hope I'm on the edge of that circle.
Yeah.
Because then you can maybe get out. But if you're not, you're done. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over at that point. So this week we decided our new poll is not necessarily who is the best, who's the strongest. It's going to be who needs a buff? Which character needs a buff currently in the game? So here's who we picked. Magneto, number 1, which, I mean, you see Magneto out there, but I don't see him as much as I would hope to see him. So
I actually saw a clip this week of his ult potentially being bugged, of like there was a clip of someone just like ulting someone in practice, and the big ball just goes straight through them and does no damage to them. So I don't know what's up with that, if that was just some weird off clip that I saw, but if that's true, then like maybe he will be getting a fix.
Yeah, you know what, his ult like does not scare me ever. Like when you hear like an Iron Man ult popping off, or of course a Moon Knight, like then I'm freaking out, like, oh god, we're all gonna die, gotta get out of that splash field. Or like a Scarlet Witch. Magneto, it's just like whatever, I'm just gonna kind of.
And when I think about it, a lot of the tank ults are like that. Like I talked a lot about Thor whenever we did that segment. Like Venom's ult, it doesn't do a lot of damage. Hulk just kind of gets in your face and smacks you around. It doesn't do a crazy amount of damage. Doctor Strange's ult doesn't do damage at all. So I think that it's like Magneto's ult can be good for targeting supports, but if they haven't taken a lot of damage, it's still probably not going to do much to them. So
so we got Magneto. We're throwing Mr. Fantastic in there. The reason being, I've been seeing a lot of people just kind of through Reddit and even on Twitter just saying like he doesn't seem to be as I don't know, maybe effective as people thought he was going to be. It seems like there was that initial love period with him, and then I don't even see him that much in games when I play. And maybe that's just the people I'm playing with, but even just playing in quick play, I don't see him as often as I did kind of that first week.
Yeah.
So
but I'm not very threatened by him. So
yeah, I mean, the only thing I still have with him is he's somewhat unkillable sometimes.
Yeah,
and
he's just basically a tank,
which is really the point, I think, of that character. Is he's just meant to harass and just be up in your face and be annoying. But I just want to throw him in there to kind of see what the community thinks. We threw Black Widow in there again,
of course,
because I don't know. I don't know what they need to do with her. But that's the thing. Does she need a buff? Yes, but I don't want her to be the one-shot kill. Because then I guess we would say maybe at that point she's overtuned. But if she's a sniper, that's kind of what she should be, though, right? I don't know.
She needs something, or at least make her like almost as good as Hawkeye. I don't know, but I have been on a team with some really good Black Widows, though. I was on one of like I was playing competitive, and someone was obviously like they locked in Black Widow immediately as joining the thing, and the whole team's like, no, we're gonna lose, what have you done? Like just automatically jumping all over this guy, and he's like he just says in the chat, let me cook. Nice. And he had like 45 eliminations and was just like he was popping off. And so I think that like there's technical parts of Black Widow that people that are good with her are really, really good with her, and that she's maybe a bit too technical or a bit too niche for that's why she's kind of in the bottom tier. But I don't know, that's just
I think she, if anything, is more maybe map specific, because you almost have to have that lane for her. Any of the like domination maps kind of depends. I'm trying to think, like there's a maybe in the Hydra map, I can't even think of which specific
this map
one.
That it was it was in one of the Idrisil maps that we won on that this guy was popping off on, but it wasn't a push the cart map.
Right. So we got Magneto, Mr. Fantastic, Black Widow, and then we are throwing Jeff in there. So I know a lot of people like to play Jeff, and the reason we're doing that is, like you had mentioned when you brought him up,
Yeah.
is that his win rate is terrible. So, which
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Jeff's fine, but yeah, like he's like bottom tier in terms of win rate. So
but do you
something's going on.
think that's just due to the fact that, just take a step back and imagine yourself as an 11-year-old kid again, and you log into this game, you're going to try to, you just want to be Spider-Man, but you might want to be Spider-Man first. You play Spider-Man, you're like, this character is impossible to play. But then you see this cute little shark off in the corner, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to play that guy. Now, I know I'm making a stereotype here saying 11-year-olds can't play this game, but I'm sure they can and could probably kick my butt in this game. But,
Oh, you bet.
like,
Yeah.
like there's probably a lot of casual players playing this game, and they just gravitate to Jeff because he's so cute. So it's like,
Yeah.
his win-loss rate might be bad just because you have the non-hardcore players playing him, so the numbers trend that way. I would love to see that number. Like, how many plays does he have to get that number as
That is
opposed to some of the
interesting.
higher people,
I mean, I think, I don't know, in my tier of where I'm at, Jeff seems very fine. But I was playing some support this week trying to get some assists for the challenge, and there was just this attack Jeff that was not healing, that was just like diving our supports and just like shooting us in the face and swimming away, and like couldn't do anything. So
Dude, I come across that every once in a while. It's literally like a
crazy.
dive Jeff. It's crazy. These people, and like I've tried it myself, and just sometimes you get a little success, but I can't stay alive long enough. But I've had a couple of Jeffs that they just rush.
it's just one of like, I'm not mad about it. I'm like, oh, good for you, Jeff. Yeah, you get get back in there.
You get them, Jeff. It's hilarious. So there you go. So our new poll: which character needs a buff? Magneto, Mr. Fantastic, Black Widow, or Jeff? Head over to Spotify, check the show out over there, and you'll see within the episode description, you'll be able to see the poll in there. So go vote and have your voice be heard, and we'll give you the details next week as to who the winner is. Well, Kens, let's move on here. We got a lot of news to get to here in our news segment that we call the Not So Daily Bugle News.
J. Jonah Jameson here.
All right. Well, in typical NetEase fashion, which kind of seems to be par for the course here over this past, I don't know, ever since the game has been out officially.
Yeah.
We got new skins, dude, coming to the game once again. And these skins, they're calling the Eternal Night skins. So we have one coming for Winter Soldier and for Psylocke. And here's what they're saying. They're saying the Winter Soldier Blood Soldier and the Psylocke Blood Carudo costumes are arriving in Marvel Rivals. And so the first one, the Winter Soldier one, they said, forged in battle, shadow and blood Chronovium. The Winter Soldier embraces his most formidable form yet. Step into the Eternal Night with the Blood Soldier costume and bring the fight to those who dare challenge you. So what do you think of the skin, man?
Yeah, these are both awesome. So the Winter Soldier one, when I first saw it, my first thought was Devil May Cry. Because there was a new trailer for the Devil May Cry anime that's coming out. It looks amazing.
Yeah,
it looks so good. And I'm a big Devil May Cry fan, and so he has like they could have done the arm a bit more, but I was like, man, he just looks like Dante with with like a Nero arm. But that was my first thought. But in the highlight intros for both of these, have you seen those yet?
I have. I unfortunately wasn't able to put them in the stream.
Yeah,
but they are over on the
so good
Twitter feed, so go check these trailers out. They just look sick. The Psylocke Blood Carudo one says, in the shadowed world overrun by vampires, none are more prepared than the yokai hunter Psylocke as she dons the Blood Carudo costume. Empowered by Blood Chronovium, she stands with new allies amidst the chaos of unending night. This is looking at all these costumes and just kind of the theming for this season. This is where we were saying the Rivals Infinity comic. Give us a comic with these characters, like these version of these characters. How cool would that be? Like the alternate universe of, what we're seeing with Dracula taking over Midtown and all of that. But it has all these characters in it. Give me a comic book with that in it, with a little bit more of that mature theme. I think would be awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree, because this is actually seems to be like the it's like the story of what's going on, of like Dracula's here, and it's like, we've got to suit up in these special ways, like
Yes.
take on the vampires. And
Yep.
yeah, I would love more physical media around that. It'd be awesome.
I wonder if like the event that we did, that, I mean, I don't know if everybody's completed it yet, but the 5 steps you had to do for part 1 of this season kind of culminates with that story of them kind of donning the suits and the Wolverine suit and all of that's in the battle pass. I almost wonder if now the second half we're gonna get like the Psylocke and Winter Soldier, I don't want to say stories, but kind of have that implemented in, because the gallery page you get for the book has those first skins that we've seen that were kind of all of this theming. I think that would be kind of cool if so, like, okay, here's these costumes, but then, this is just a little taste of what we're going to get in the second half when we get Johnny and Thing, and then whatever that second half of the event is. I hope they do that, because I think that just adds to just telling the story of the season. It's such a great way to, I don't know, just add story to a hero shooter, to what is essentially just a competitive game. We think about the way they used to do it with Overwatch. It was, sure, we got just incredible anime, or not animes, but the animated shorts, that you would get that were just awesome. But that was kind of all you got. Like, there really was nothing in game, right? Other than just a little bit kind of in the
like voice lines and stuff. But other than that, it was a kind of a big, a big issue with that. But I mean, the way that they're doing it of you have the event, and then you have these like stories that are these little tidbits that are also being like added in through skins of like, I have my opinions about skins and microtransactions and stuff, but this is like, there is a reason for them wearing these, having
Right,
these
yeah.
like outfits. It's not just like, oh, we thought it'd be cool. It's just, I don't know. It's it really speaks to me. So
Yeah.
I really dig it.
I mean, that's one thing they're doing such a great job, I think, with, is really just, somehow conveying story in this game. Like they found a very neat way to do it, and I really think it's pretty cool. So those skins are available now if you want to go get those. Now, another skin that is available now as well, and we knew this one was coming, is the kind of in celebration of the Marvel Spider-Man 2 game launching on PC. So they have brought in the Spider-Man 2.0 suit. You can get that now in Marvel Rivals. It looks great. It looks just like you think from the Marvel Spider-Man game from Insomniac. And I just kind of love everything about it. The little spray that it has, all the little emotes that he has is super cool. Now, I know Matt said he was interested in getting this one. Unfortunately for me, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't play the character as much as I've tried. I've even tried like in practice, like I'm gonna just play Spider-Man and just go for it. I can just never be successful with him. So this is one that I just am not.
Yeah, I played him for the first time recently, for some of those event challenges. Didn't do great,
Yeah.
but I had a good time. I was like, man, he feels like Spider-Man. I kind of I suck with him, but like he feels like Spider-Man. But what I love about the skin is that Yuri Lowenthal is doing the voice of Spider-Man and
So it's
Rivals,
perfect.
but he does it in the game too. So it's just like you literally have that Spider-Man in this game now.
Yep.
And we probably won't be able to say that about
No,
like any other character. So it's just really cool.
It is pretty neat. Yeah, you're right. Have you watched, and this is totally off topic right now, have you watched the first 2 episodes of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man
I have
yet?
not. I need to. I completely forgot it was coming out until you said something about it in Discord yesterday. And then I watched, obviously it came out and so clips were everywhere, but like the animation of that thing,
It's cool as hell, dude.
looks so freaking cool.
Yes.
Like I was like, like I liked, the X-Men show that came out. Like I was super into that weekly when it was coming out, but this thing looks like incredible.
Yeah.
So
big recommendation for everybody out there. If you have not watched it yet, definitely go watch Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It's over on Disney Plus. First 2 episodes are out. I was a little, I don't want to say hesitant of it, but I just wasn't sure. They were making some changes, and of course, you read all the crap all over the internet, and it was like, whatever. And I'm like, I'm gonna give this show a chance. It's fantastic. Like, it is.
Can't wait.
Everything about it is awesome. I mean, we live in a world where Marvel is filled with multiverses and all that. This is just, it's so good, man. The art style is incredible, like you mentioned. They've already signed on for 3 seasons, I think, so we know they have a plan for where it's going. The voice actor of Spider-Man, his name slips my mind right now, but he's the same guy who voiced Spider-Man in the Zombies What If episode. So it is I don't want to say he is that Spider-Man, but it's that same voice actor, and he just fits it perfect. So
yeah,
Go watch
Spider-Man to me, like Spider-Man is. I know, like Matt has said, Spider-Man's his favorite hero. I think I've Spider-Man will always hold a special place for me because it was like the first superhero that I ever connected with and watched with, like the 1994 Spider-Man cartoon. And so this, and then X-Men too, later on. But so like whenever they did, the new X-Men show and kind of a callback to that, I got really excited for, oh man, they got to do Spider-Man. So
yeah,
stoked.
Yeah, go watch it. It's good. Let's see. Moving on here with the news, we got some word today from good old Danny Koo, and this was posted over on the Marvel website. But there are more Marvel Rivals variant covers coming to some of your favorite Marvel Rival comics this March. So there's actually going to be a total of 10 covers. So they have a Doctor Strange, Thor, and Moon Knight all coming on March 5th. On March 12th, there's going to be an Amazing Spider-Man cover. March 19th, we're getting an Avengers, which I really want to see what that one's going to be. I think that's going to be awesome with all of them on there. There's a One World Under Doom cover too, which I think that's kind of the big kind of spring event that's happening in Marvel, this whole One World Under Doom where everybody wakes up and everybody's under control of Doom, which kind of sounds like what's happening in Rivals right now, which is kind of funny. And Psylocke as well. Again, those three are on March 19th. And then on March 26th, we're getting another Spider-Man book, Doom's Division, and then the Incredible Hulk number 23 is going to have a cover as well. So if you're still collecting physical books out there, get your local shop. I don't know if you'll need to pre-order these. I know some of the variant covers, sometimes you need to do that. They only have limited runs of these. You may be able to get these online as well. But very cool. Again, that, Marvel, I mean, obviously it's their game, right? Ultimately, but it's kind of under the same wheelhouse, but that they're embracing Rivals. And, I wonder, were these things already planned, or has it been because the game has been such a success that they're like, okay, we got to just keep running with this and create.
I don't know, but I'm actually looking. I saw a couple of them, but I'm seeing two of them right now. The Immortal Thor 21 Loki cover and the One World Under Doom number 2 cover. Those are arts. They are the art from the game.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, they are the exact same thing from. So like, I don't know how many times I've said, give me this art in physical form. Whenever I've looked at that, there it is. So like you can get. So I missed that earlier when I was looking through this. Like, there they are. So
do we have posters? Like, they need to start selling just posters, dude. Like,
this Moon Knight one is also one of my favorites that they've shown here too.
I do like that because it's kind of like I don't want to say like a hand sketch, but just kind of the way it looks. It's very
it's
cool.
Like almost a animation frame.
You can see the pencil marks on it, which is pretty awesome. So go, and you know what? If anything, go support your local comic book shop. It's always a good thing to do that every once in a while. Stop by your local shop. Those guys love to see you come in. Let's see what else we have. The Marvel Rivals Championship is live, which I don't know if we mentioned this last week, but it is out there now. So and this is the in-game tournament. So if you and your faction, you're ready to go, get in there. It started last week, January 17th. The signups started the 17th, go all the way through March 8th. The open qualifiers are the 8th through the 9th. Closed qualifiers, 15th through the 16th. And then the double elimination start after that. So go in there. They're giving away up to, over $14,000. It's going this time, $14,500. And, of course, they're going to break it all up again from North America PC and console, Europe PC and console, and then the Asia PC and console, which I think is kind of cool that they do that they're not only doing it by platform, but also by region. I think it's kind of neat.
Yeah, for sure.
But of course, there'll be all kinds of live streams and all that out there for that stuff. But when I saw this, Kenz, it kind of sparked in my mind. Like, I remember back on our roundtable. So if you guys can go back, if you see within the podcast feed, you'll see there's our Origin episode, which was a podcast we had recorded for the Alpha. When the Alpha came out, I got in the Alpha back in the summer. And I remember, like, even myself on there saying that I wasn't sure this game was going to be able to have like a competitive scene. And I think part of that was because we were so just engrossed in Overwatch, and like, I want to say maybe how balanced Overwatch is. And I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but it's like Blizzard, the whole lifetime of Overwatch, all they've done is try to perfect the balance of that game. And so coming from that mindset, I just was like, I don't know how this could be competitive. But now that we're I mean, how many weeks has this game been out now? 8 weeks, 7, 8 weeks?
Yeah, a month and a half, 2 months almost.
I want to say we're there because not only is it just the balance of the heroes, which I'm kind of glad that NetEase isn't doubling down. And I mean, here we are, we're running a poll this week about what character needs a buff, talking about balance in the game. But what I mean is like, the other part of this game really is learning the different matchups. I feel that this is a game where you need to, like, not only the skill of the game comes from learning the heroes and how your actual skill with them, but it's also learning more the meta, almost as if you do in a MOBA, like a League of Legends, right? This is kind of that ilk where you have to know what counters are. And of course, I mean, I'm not on the higher tier in the competitive, so I'm not doing hero bans or anything like that. But I think that you're able to, when you see someone else that another team picks, I'm able to adjust, and I think that's where the competitive side really comes in. And honestly, like, I'm to the point now where I think this is more competitive and is almost being more embraced by the I'm not going to say former Overwatch competitive scene, but is almost being embraced by the hero shooter competitive scene. I mean, what are your thoughts kind of where we are right now with
Well, I think
happening?
the last thing that you said is true, because I think that the high point of Overwatch competitive, was Overwatch 1 and all of the charm from that. This game really is a love letter to that time. And so it has so much of those elements in it, of kind of countering and, role walking and stuff like that. And I think that for one, I think that in esports will do nothing but good for any game, because it allows you to, a competitive scene puts more eyes on the game. It also, pushes developers to make sure that the game is updated and balanced and things like that. I think that Overwatch was pushed too hard, in my opinion, for esports. I remember a time whenever, a dead game that I love to reference, Heroes of the Storm, was high. It was high in its esports level, trying to be League of Legends, and also Overwatch League was just starting. And I can remember, executives at Blizzard saying, "We want our esports to be on ESPN." Like they were pushing it to be like a regular sport, like a competitive sport that people would watch, that like people that don't play the game ever would watch on a regular basis, is what their goal was. And I don't think that we can get there with most games, these days.
Agreed.
So there was that huge push for that. They dumped a ton of money into, building this esports scene. And for a while it was huge. I mean, they were on ESPN.
They were,
for a while. They got spots there on ESPN too. And I think that it was too much. It was too much of an expectation. You had all of these huge buyers into this, and when it wasn't making the money that that was expected, they pulled out.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing is, it was on ESPN, but they weren't getting the numbers, so that's why
Right.
that's why it left ESPN, right, and went exclusively to YouTube. That's where it went. I remember that. I remember sitting in my car, and was it at BlizzCon? I think when they were like unveiling the Overwatch League, and I remember them just saying like, "We're gonna pay." People were going to have people buy teams, and they said, like, was it like 20 million for a team or 2 million, whatever it was. And I remember Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, bought a team, and it was like, all our players are going to have signed contracts with health insurance. And it's like, it almost like as exciting as that was, and as exciting as it sounded, like you needed to make sure that the game was there first in the community, right? Which I mean, sure, Overwatch launched great. I mean, it was Game of the Year, or the Game Awards that year, 2016 or wherever it was when it came out.
Right.
So I mean, it had that success and had a community, but like I think a game like what's happened with Rivals is the game came out and they're just like, hey, here we're doing our thing. And I mean, I remember them even saying early on about like, and I think they're still kind of there, like, hey, if the esports scene grows, great, but if it doesn't, like, that's fine too. And we're starting to see it starting to build. So I could see the next year or 2 years from now, I could see them not necessarily doing a Rivals League or anything like that, but I think we're going to start seeing some of these bigger esports companies, MLG, whatever it is, which, I mean, I don't know if that would be the company to do it, but really starting to push the esports side of this. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but like when I go on YouTube, I'm seeing all the people that I used to see for Overwatch. Dude, they're all playing Rivals now. Like Rivals is just dominating that scene right now, and partly because I know it's the hotness right now. It's what's getting the views and all that stuff. I mean, you're still getting the videos of like Marvel Rivals just revealed the newest characters, blah, you know, all these like crazy. And it's just like
never go away.
No, they didn't actually, but okay, I see what you're doing there, kid. But like, which that stuff drives me bananas. But the actual like in terms of esports side, watching people play, like it's gonna get there. I think it is because this is the zeitgeist right now.
I think that it's the thing of like making, you know, they have an idea for what they want their product to be, and it seems like they just want their product to be a fun competitive game. You know, they're the mindset of whatever happens. Whereas Overwatch was like, we want it to be this want it to be as big as the NFL, you know, and we're gonna dump all of this into it, and then it fails, and it's like, okay, well now what do we do? It happened. So
do you think part of that was because didn't like Blizzard, I mean, obviously you go back to the StarCraft roots, like they weren't the ones that launched, I guess, a competitive StarCraft league, right? I mean, who was the company? I can't believe I can't think of the company that was kind of doing those, but it wasn't actually Blizzard that had control of it. So I think when they came out with Overwatch, they were like, we're going to control it because all those other people made money off our game. We're going to be the ones to do it this time.
They always do that.
ESL, there you go. ESL over the chat.
So much of the success in video games in general is from Blizzard's own ideas.
Right.
It's like they have the foundation for it. Like MOBAs would not exist if it wasn't for like Warcraft and like Dota, like League of Legends would be a thing if World of Warcraft or Warcraft didn't exist.
Dota was a Warcraft 3 mod.
Exactly.
Valve just was like, Dota 2.
And so it's like, and then Blizzard's like, oh, people are doing cool stuff with our games. You know, let's try to do it. And then they don't do it as well, even though it's like their own stuff. But so I think that, I think Rivals is in a great spot for it. I think that they know their audience, and you know they keep making this product. It will turn into something, you know, if they keep going at the rate that they are.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, like, I don't want to say I'm not surprised at how successful it is right now, because I mean, it's part of the reason we started this podcast was you could just see this game is going to be something, like there was going to be a great community for this game, so that was part of the reason why I said, hey, let's do a show about this game. I think it's going to be a great idea. But I will say I am somewhat surprised at just how big it's becoming. Seeing people play it that I didn't think would, and seeing people continue. Like I said, I go on YouTube and I see these people. I want to throw a name out there. I never in a million years would have thought I'd see this person playing this game. Dr. Disrespect. Like, just throwing that out there. Like, that dude, I did not picture seeing him playing this game multiple times a week. For whatever reason, it pops up in my YouTube feed, and he's like, you know, #1, and it's like Dr. Disrespect, you know, his crazy thing with his glasses and his mullet wig or whatever. But seeing him playing Rivals, and I'm like, he's doing that because he knows that's where the views are right now. So the fact that this game is that popular, that you have these big streamers, Ninja streaming it, like those, that is blowing my mind that this game.
Shroud, I saw a clip of Shroud talking about like creating his own like esports thing. So.
His own esports team. Like, what? He's like, guys, I think we found this is the game, the life game. I'm like, what? It's crazy. So Rivals is in a great spot right now. And, you know, I don't know. I kind of want to talk a little bit about that. And of course, you know, we're a little sidetracked with Overwatch, but I think that's just
it's relevant.
It's definitely relevant because we got a little Overwatch story coming up here in a minute, too, that we're going to get back to. But it's, you know, it's interesting to see kind of how Rivals has taken what Overwatch did for years and learn from what Overwatch either did or did not do, and is doing it now, and it's successful for him. It's pretty awesome. Let's see. We also had some announcement of a new Twitch drop promo here. So we have some new drops coming. If you head on over to Twitch and watch, what do they have you watching? 1 hour from January 27th through February 5th, you get a Spring Festival Twitch drop nameplate. So head on over there. You can get that. Did you get the last Twitch drop? I'm trying to think. What was the last one?
The last one, was it Hella?
The Rivals. There was the Hella was for the first half of the season. There was that other Twitch Rivals one. I forget exactly what it was.
I missed that one. I didn't get that one.
Yeah, this is the Bright Gaze nameplate is what this one is. So it kind of fits the theming of the Spring Festival.
if that's your thing.
So, yeah, but looks kind of cool. I'm glad they keep doing
Free,
this.
So yeah, more free things.
More free stuff. Give us more. Give us more. It's pretty cool that they continue to do all this stuff. Let's see. We had an update. This was actually a message to us that came over on Spotify from Mijo562. And this is in reference to last week we talked about how the Captain America Brave New World promo is happening. So you can get a nameplate, a spray, and a skin if you buy tickets through Regal Cinemas. I think now all the way through, I think it's February 17th. But Mijo562 said, you not only need to get the ticket for the skin, but you also need to have your ticket scanned. So it's actually in the terms. So he said, please don't buy a ticket if you don't plan on going. You will not get the skin if your ticket is not scanned. I was kind of like, really? So I did look, and sure enough, in the terms, it is in there.
Got to read the fine print.
So we kind of joked about like, oh yeah, Matt, you buy, and or Neil, buy us a ticket.
Yeah, because we don't have a way to get to a theater. So
yeah. So
yeah, well, I mean, good for them, because that's definitely what people would do, Yeah. So it's like that's fair.
But does it matter? Like, wouldn't you rather like just somebody not buy, like just buy the ticket, give them the spray, and not go to the movie and spill their popcorn and candy all over the floor? Then the people have to clean it up. Like, wouldn't that just be better? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you get the money either way. But they want people going to see it, and then talk about it and go see it again and tell your friends about it, whatever.
Yeah, I guess.
Free marketing.
That's it. But yeah, so if you were planning on doing that, make sure you are going to go to the movie and not just get the sprays and the skin, which I still think, come on, they got to give us that skin. I want to know what the skin is. It's got to be the Red Hulk skin. It's got to be. There's no way they can put Falcon in the game, right? I mean,
yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, that would be the easiest thing, would be Red Hulk. Red Hulk. I really don't.
Boom.
Unless there's some other character in the movie that we don't know about that could give, that would be disappointing. So
yeah. Let's see. And finally here for news, and like I said, we had a little Overwatch story I wanted to get to. It's been funny kind of watching, like I said, I've been seeing all these big like YouTubers that were always Overwatch people that I would watch or see on Twitch, suddenly now playing Rivals. And Overwatch had planned, I think before Rivals came out, and I'm sure it was probably from feeling the heat from Rivals, of we're going to do these test phases of 6v6, go back to that. Because that was one of the big things when Overwatch 2 came out, they switched to 5v5, 1 tank, 2 DPS, 2 healers, and people didn't like it. A lot of the long-term players didn't like that. And Roku and all those different things. So now Overwatch 2 started with these little tests, and now it just seems like I almost like copied this tweet from a couple days ago. The Overwatch team put out just straight up like, who are all your friends you're going to bring with you in 6v6, like talking about how great 6v6 was. And it's like just a couple of years ago they were like 6v6 is terrible.
This is the thing that you started. This is your thing.
Yeah. So they put out this tweet, and there's a story over on the Blizzard website, and it's basically saying that on February 12th they're going to do a presentation on YouTube and Twitch, and they're going to reveal groundbreaking PvP gameplay changes, and also talk about some incredible changes to how the game is going to be played, show off new heroes, new maps, and more content coming this February and beyond. So reading that, I couldn't help but feel that more so than ever before, they are really feeling the heat from Rivals.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? Because you said you have some ideas on what these gameplay changes could be.
One is more of a hope, and the other is maybe, I think, more likely. But regardless, I know that like our group hasn't necessarily played Overwatch in a while because we've been playing a lot of Rivals, but they're both good games. We both like both games, and that's why I think that the best thing for Overwatch is Rivals, in that if without Rivals, Overwatch continues to be what it is without much change, because that is how it has been for years. But now Rivals is here as competition, and I think that having both of these games makes both of them better. In the end. So and also like if you're someone that plays both games, like you're just eating, like you
yes.
There's no reason to complain. But what I think, so the word groundbreaking is pretty intense there. So if they're going to use that word, it has to be a pretty drastic change to the way that things are. I don't think that this is just, hey, we're doing 6v6 again. Because again, that's what they started that. Like that was their whole thing. And so I think that what it could be is that they could be giving either an option or they could be going third person.
Third, yeah, dude. I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
I think that's honestly what they're doing.
Because Halo did it.
Yep.
You know, we have lots of proof that there can be competitive games in third person.
Fortnite crushes it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've been to the FNCS. I took my son when it was in Raleigh. Like we went to the World Championships of Fortnite in Raleigh like a couple of years ago. It's crazy. Tons of people.
So it's like that, and that's not. But that I don't know that that's groundbreaking. You know, like I think that that's it could be because it is, but also I don't. Why would they do that? You know, it's the Overwatch is a shooter. But I think maybe having the option to be third person. There are several abilities in Overwatch where your character is in third person. So you know, I'm not. I don't know, but I don't know necessarily about groundbreaking there. Do you have any other ideas for what a groundbreaking?
I don't know. No, I mean the only thing I could think. I mean they mentioned specifically PvP, but the only thing I could think of was bringing in the PvE. Bring that back and just make it free. Man. You know, I mean, I wish they would do that, which that's the thing. Like, and the reason I kind of bring this up is, you know, I mean, you had mentioned it, I think off the air, is that like having that competition would be great. So like, not that we want it to swing back and forth, but it would be great if Overwatch does something then that kind of pulls everybody back. And then NetEase sees that and says, okay, well, we need to do that. And they just everybody just keeps upping their game.
And they both just get better.
Exactly. And so like, if they would do a PvE in Overwatch or bring that back, Danny Koo and the team over at NetEase and Marvel Games have kind of been like, we're not really interested in PvE. But come on, guys, how great would a PvE be? Even if it's like a horde mode. Imagine a mode you're fighting in Midtown with like Doombots coming at you, or specifically not Doombots, like a bunch of the you see them in the splash screens of the Dracula's minions, whatever it is, like the little goblin guys or demons. That'd be great. And every season you get something like that. Just give us a horde mode. You pick your team. You know, give you 6 characters to play as. It's just another event mode. I mean, that stuff would be awesome.
We are going to get that somewhere. One of these games is going to do PvE right, and then the other one will also have to do it right. I don't know which one it's going to be, but eventually one of them is going to be like, yes, this is what we're doing, and they're going to do it really well, and then it's both going to be great. But so what I hope, and this I think would be groundbreaking. In terms of PvP gameplay is, you know, keep it first person or whatever. But I mentioned the dead game Heroes of the Storm, and which is to this day still one of my favorite PvP experiences ever, because it wasn't quite as sweaty as League, but also had like so many of those elements that I would love from a MOBA. So, you know, taking elements from that, like abilities, leveling up, you know, like buying into talents.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
And things like that. And throughout, maybe the games get a little bit longer, and throughout the game, you know, your hero gets a little bit stronger. And then there are builds within each hero that you can select, and you know, you kind of a combination of both of those games and how they work. Not necessarily making it a MOBA, but having some of those talents that you level up and go throughout a game.
What's the Valve game right now? Is it Deadshot?
Oh, I haven't.
Is that what it's called?
I haven't played that.
I have played it, and essentially that's what it is. I mean,
is that what they do?
It's not on the Paragon/predecessor level. I mean, that's a straight up MOBA. But that's what Deadshot is. It's very much a shooter. You're leveling up. You go to the kiosk. You're buying abilities to level up even more. I mean, it is way more of a MOBA than Overwatch or anything. Deadlock. That's it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're describing, and I think that in Overwatch would be pretty sick. Or put it in Rivals, man. Like imagine that.
Exactly, and that's why I mentioned this is because if it is something like that's like my dream is to have a game like that. You know, like I like this. I like this competitive. You know, 6v6 hero shooter, but give me just a little bit more depth, and I think that something like that would really do it for me.
Yeah. That'd be pretty sweet. So we'll have to see. You know, I'm definitely interested in, like I said, I think just being a Rivals fan, I think this should somewhat interest you as well, because it is, you know, I think ultimately whatever both of these teams do, the other team is going to be watching, and could, you know, kind of dictate where some of their development goes in the future. I don't think, as much as both of them want to say they're kind of in their own little vacuum, I mean, I think, If anything, Rivals is more of in its own little world, doing its own thing, because they don't need to worry about Overwatch. But with Blizzard's track record of being able to bring some pretty big hits out of there, they should still keep their eye over there and just see what they're doing. So February 12th, that will be. Yeah. So, we'll see what happens. But all right, that's going to be it for the news, man. Let's move on here to our Danger Room segment this week, where we're going to give you some tips and tricks here for the Clash of the Dancing Lions. So here we go with our Danger Room. Now, I got to be honest. I think last week I was a little bit harsh on this mode. I've been a little harsh
on not a good time
on the Jeff mode, and then this mode I was like, definitely not like it. I will say, I'm not going to say I'm loving this mode, or I'm not even going to go as far as to say I'm even really enjoying this mode. But I will say when I am in it, I'm starting to really kind of get here's where everybody needs to be. And I've even noticed, even the players you're playing up against in the matches that I've had, everybody's kind of on that same page as well. Like, you're having players get the ball and back away a little bit and kind of set the stage and kind of see where their teammates are going to go. So couple quick tips here. Neil actually sent us a note because he couldn't be here. So here's what Neil said. He said, Star-Lord Golden Flow is OP. He said, in all seriousness, he is my favorite to play. His flight ability usually leaves everyone in the dust, but you need to be careful with your attack move usage due to the long cooldown. Remember to use your dodge too. He said, I enjoyed this mode this week. Trying to get successful passes was a lot harder than I thought. And I'm kind of with him on that. The missions that kind of gave you. Yeah, the passes were tough, man.
Who does that?
I wasn't sure if it was just like a straight up pass and you got it, but no, you actually had to pass it and your teammate had to capture it before the enemy for it to count. So it did take me a little bit to do that. But speaking of just Star-Lord, because he mentioned Star-Lord in the beginning, he's probably my favorite to play. And I think the role that he plays is almost, I don't want to say entirely defensive. I think when you get the ball and you're like your team, let's say you get scored on, and if you're playing Star-Lord and you're the one in the middle starting with the ball, the best thing you can do with him is just kind of run forward. And the minute you get to somebody, hit his flight and just go up. Because half the time you can kind of get up over everybody. And then if you can get your Widow, if they're smart and thinking with you, they can sprint by everybody, and then that's when you can get your pass. Because once your flight ends, you can pass the ball to your Widow. Because Widow, her role in the whole thing seems to be basically your sprinter to get down the field and score. So if you're playing Widow, that's kind of your job, I think, is to be the one to kind of get that ball when it kind of pops out of the group and takes down the field. Star-Lord, for his defense, his ability where he does his little like shooty shoots, as I'm going to call it.
Shooty shoots. Sure.
Great defensive move because you can just kind of hold on to that. But like Neil said, there is a long cooldown, so you really got to kind of be careful when you do use that. But on defense, the range on it is great too, so you can be kind of far away from enemies when you use it. But the other great thing to think about is, like, you don't have to use that just when the other team has the ball. So there's been a lot of times where I've played Star-Lord and almost assisted my Widow as she's running down the court with the ball, and maybe she's being chased. If you pop that, you knock the enemies out of the way. So they can't get to her. You slow them down. So that's another thing, too, is to make sure you're using the abilities not only just as a way to take the ball away from the other team, but a way to also knock them back. The other thing with Iron Fist is he seems to be, I see him more used kind of midfield, because Star-Lord a lot of times is set back a little bit more. But he's got, with his kick that he can do, is a great leap. You can actually leap up and kick a Star-Lord. I've never done it myself, but I've had it happen to me a couple times where I'm trying to do that move where like you go up in the air and you're like, I'm just going to fly over everybody. And then you just look down and there's an Iron Fist coming and he just knocks the ball out of you. So that's a great way to play Iron Fist, is if that Star-Lord tries to go up in the air, you can get good distance coverage with that and then get a kick and get up there. I don't know. Those are just some little tips I had. Yeah. What has your experience been?
I think I'm not quite the opposite of you in terms of enjoyment of it, because I was like man, this is really fun. I really like it. And this week I'm like, no, it's fine. You know, I've kind of had my time in it. It is what it is. It's one of those things I'm really glad that it exists, but it's not like I wake up every morning, I'm like, man, I cannot wait to get back in there and play like Marvel Soccer. I just can't wait. You know, it's really the last thing I think about, but it was fun for the time that I had with it. I don't know that I'll be really into it, but so I really haven't played a lot of Iron Fist, it's one of those things because you are, because it is kind of role locked, right? Of, it's like if you have someone you want to play, you got to pick them fast. Otherwise, like someone else is going to pick them. You're going to be stuck with somebody else. So usually he gets picked pretty quick. And I'm either stuck with like Widow or Star-Lord, which I do. I think I prefer them anyway. So, but I like Widow the best, I think. And an interesting thing I saw that you can do with her, and I saw this from a video from, I'll give him some credit here, Mr. Wiggles on YouTube.
Shout out to Mr. Wiggles.
Shout out to Mr. Wiggles. But he had a cool video on some tips for playing this. And one of the things that he said to do was you're running on the edge with Widow with the ball. And let's say that there's a Star-Lord that's kind of there in front of the goal defending. Clearly they're going to intercept you, if you try to get close to them with their shooty shoot, as you say.
Yeah.
You can pass them the ball, throw the ball, like just give them the ball. And then as soon as they have it, you can use your kick and then take it back.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And so it's like, because there's that bit of a stun, and it's a way to immediately get the ball back. So it's like, if you know that they're going to take it from you, just give it to them.
And then give it to them.
Then use your ability to get it back, and then you can score.
That's a great idea. I never even thought of that, man. That's awesome. Just give him the ball. Yeah, take it. Boom. And then hit him with it.
Mm-hmm. You got to make sure you have you're not on cooldown, though, because then it's not going to be.
You could probably do that with Star-Lord, too, though, dude. That's the thing. Star-Lord's more like an AoE defense, so you're kind of hitting everybody around it. That's why he's number one great as a goalie, but also, like I said, as just a straight up like assist defender, I guess. He's almost like your lineman running down the field blocking for you, but like sometimes can even be behind you, because that's where a lot of times, like, if your Widow gets the ball and they can kind of get a little bit of a jump, they're gone. But you can have, a Star-Lord or the other team's Widow can usually chase them down. So if you can be your Star-Lord or US Star-Lord and like kind of keep with them, and right before they're getting to your Widow, pop your shooty shoots, boom, you're just like, knocking them away, and then your Widow's just free reign. And always make sure, easiest tip in the world, run through the middle of the goal. Don't run through the outsides. If you have a chance to score, and the only reason you want to go on the outside to get the 1 point, because remember, you only get 1 point on the outsides, 3 in the middle, is if it's like a last-ditch effort, like the ball just happened to drop there. But if you're running down the court and you have a free shot, do not run on the outsides. Make sure you run in the middle, because that's incredibly frustrating. It's like, I've had a couple matches this week that have been like, oh, we should have won this. And like, we scored 3 times, and it was just because one guy in the team, we got 3 points, but he scored 3 times on the outside and got the 1 rather than win in the middle. And, the other team maybe gets 2 threes and it's over. And I've actually had a couple games this week go the full 4 minutes. Some of these games get intense, man. Like when I've been playing, it's crazy. Like once everybody kind of knows what they're doing and the roles, everybody's kind of playing that, these games can get intense. So, which is, it's actually, that's why I've been kind of having a lot of fun this week, is it's kind of clicking a little bit
getting
more.
Sweaty for you. Competitive dancing lion.
Yeah, but I will say, the minute I think I have 80%, so I have 2 more things. I think I need the next one is the skin, and then you get the gallery card. Once I get that gallery card, I'm probably never playing it again. I'm not playing this just for fun. I need to be incentivized.
I think that's fine. It's like, hey, we want to give you a free thing. But we also don't want to just give it to you. We want you to do something. And I think they know that. They're not trying to make the for us to like play this over the rest of the game that they've cared for and created for so long, versus something that they probably made in like a little bit of time. So it's fine, Yeah.
Do you think this was made in just a little bit of time, though? That's the thing. It's like, how much blood, sweat, and tears went into
in comparison to the rest of the game, yes. But, I do, obviously, someone dedicated time to it.
Yeah. But I hope we get more like this. It's obviously very cool that it's in the game. But send us your tips and tricks for this. If you guys have any special tricks that you've been doing in the game, let us know. And like I said, some of those challenges are a little annoying. Just make sure when you're doing the pass, make sure you're actually like passing it to a teammate. It can't just be just spamming the pass button. Scoring is one that sucks, because especially when I'm playing Star-Lord, because a lot of times like I'm just not scoring in Star-Lord. I'm playing defense, so I'm like, I got to make sure I get Widow if I can lock into her so I can get a score. And then even just winning. I've had a couple, but see, that was the same thing. I had the winning with the Jeff. Like when I just had the Jeff win come up, I just would lose like 5 games in a row, and I'm like, damn it!
It's the pressure.
I just need to win. It's so annoying, but yeah. So, all right, well, let's move on here to our lore segment that we call the Cerebro Files. All right. Well, as requested this week, we are talking about good old Rocket Raccoon. Is he a raccoon? Yes, he is a raccoon, or maybe not. I don't know. Matt will tell us. So Matt
He
couldn't
doesn't
be.
know that he's a raccoon.
Yeah, like I said, Matt couldn't be here with us tonight, although he is in the chat right now. Just said he literally just got home, so he's going to listen to himself as he tells you.
I'm sure that'll be very jarring. Please enjoy that, Jarvis.
Please enjoy that. So here we go. Here is, as requested again, the lore on Rocket the Raccoon from Matt.
What is up, rivals? It is your boy Matt back with another lore cast, lore download, lore. I just don't like it when Mark says lore dump because it sounds like I'm going to the bathroom. So we'll call it anything but that, okay? But we are back to talk about some of our favorite characters from Marvel Rivals. This week, we're talking about Rocket Raccoon. Now, interesting fact, which you may or may not know, the character was named after a Beatles song, the song Rocky Raccoon, I believe it is. And there's a whole story about that, which I will leave to you to go read up on because we want to get into the comic book lore here. So, let's see. Rocket Raccoon. He made his debut in Marvel Comics in 1962 in The Incredible Hulk number 271. And this version of the character is basically unrecognizable from the Rocket we know in comics and modern, I guess, media all around today. Since debuting in the comics, he's been seen in the movies, of course, recently, in the James Gunn films, but also in multiple animated series, which I believe most, if not all, are available on Disney+. There is also the recent Guardians of the Galaxy video game, which is severely underrated. If you haven't played it yet, I'm sure you can get it for cheap somewhere on Steam, on your console, wherever. But yes, first appearance in The Incredible Hulk. It wasn't until 1975 that he got a solo comic, which was basically a 4-issue telling of his origin. So Rocket is the sheriff of this planet known as Half-World, this abandoned planet which this race of creatures, smart sentient beings, established as kind of an asylum planet. Think Arkham Asylum almost, but they left it. So people with severe problems, mental disabilities, you name it. What's left behind on the planet are a bunch of animals and basically these self-learning robots. And in the absence of their makers, these robots begin to learn and through machine learning begin to quote-unquote evolve, which leads to experimentation upon the animals there, which leads to creatures like Rocket, who has popularly said, "What's a raccoon? I'm not a raccoon. He's something else." But I would try and tell you the entire history of this planet because it is bonkers. I'll give you the highlights, and if you really want to know, you can go look it up. It involves space clowns, the animals on this planet making toys to keep the few humans that are left behind, basically the asylum inmates, in check. They make them toys to keep them calm. His girlfriend, Lila the otter, who is an heir to this huge toy-making fortune. His good friend, Walrus, Walrus. It was a slow day at Marvel, I'm sure it was. But the series is a little crazy. What happens at the end is basically they break through this wall that has been surrounding the planet, and Rocket is able to go out and explore the rest of the galaxy. He's relieved of that kind of sheriff duty of watching over this world. We find out later in some comic appearances, they don't exactly retcon it, but we figure out that he's had his memory replaced with the events of what happened, when actually there was a very dangerous criminal being held on Half-World, known as the Star Thief. And the key that was holding him was basically made into a mental imprint on every citizen of Half-World. And so every citizen had to unanimously agree to free this creature. And if they didn't, then the key wouldn't work. So when Rocket left Half-World at the end of the events of Rocket Raccoon, the original series from 1985, it was basically ensuring that Star Thief would never get out. But you'll have to keep reading to see if that happened. It's crazy to think, but for about the next 30 years, Rocket didn't do anything. He wasn't really seen in comics, which is crazy to think about. It wasn't until Dan Abnett's Guardians of the Galaxy run in 2008 that he was brought back into the spotlight, along with Groot, who shares a very similar trajectory, where he appeared a few times in early comics, and then largely nothing was done with him until this major retooling, and we have the Guardians as we know today. Now, the 2008 run doesn't establish the same team that's exactly present in the Marvel Studios films, but we eventually get there. And that's where Rocket becomes much more of the wisecracking guy who can wield any type of gun, no matter how big it is, no matter how small he is. But I think we all know why we're here, which is to get the comic recommendations on what we can read. So, first off, if you want to read Incredible Hulk 271 from 1962, be my guest. Just so you can kind of get a glimpse of what Rocket could have been. Like a British-speaking, pipe-smoking raccoon who there had to have been something passed around at Marvel. The take on him was crazy. 1985's Rocket Raccoon, his 4-issue backstory. And throughout the years, he's had a lot of small solo series titled Rocket Raccoon. There have also been a lot of more recent Rocket Raccoon and Groot series as well. Each fun, self-contained stories that you can check out on your own. Another great one, which was really his big comeback, was part of the Annihilation event, Annihilation Conquest Star-Lord. That is kind of like a precursor to his Guardians of the Galaxy comeback. Another one which I really like is Symbiote Spider-Man, King in Black. And so the Symbiote Spider-Man series they're each small little micro series that take place in the original Spider-Man title during the time when Peter Parker was wearing the black suit, but he didn't know yet that it was a symbiote. So Marvel is essentially going back and saying, hey, all this stuff happened then as well, which I think is super cool. And so these micro series are, 4 or 5 issues apiece. In this series specifically, Symbiote Spider-Man King in Black deals with symbiotes, of course, and Null, but sees the unlikely team-up of, get ready for this, Spider-Man, Rocket Raccoon, Kang the Conqueror, Black Knight, and Uatu the Watcher. Just a casual team-up book, buddy comedy, that's the vibe of it. It's, I think, 5 issues. Don't quote me on that. It's been a minute since I've read it, but it is such a fun, out-of-the-ordinary book. He's been a consistent member of the Guardians of the Galaxy since his appearance in that 2008 book, even up to this day. Rocket has become a mainstay, probably one of the most high-profile cosmic characters since he's from space. That's what I refer to as a cosmic character. He's not the most powerful, but I think because of his presence in the Guardians of the Galaxy films, it has propelled him to become, just a staple of anything that happens in space in Marvel Comics. That is our brief little section on the lore. I hope you dive into some of these comics and see what could have been with Rocket, his crazy beginnings, and ultimately the course correction that got us to where we are today. I hope you guys have a great week. Let us know what you're reading. Comment on Spotify. Shout us out on social media. If there's anything you think we should be reading, I look forward to seeing it. And we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
All right. Well, Matt, thank you here for sending that in and keeping us informed about Rocket. You know, it's funny. Like, Rocket was one of those characters that I'll be honest, like, I never knew really until the movie. Like, I didn't read the 2008 series, the Abnett series, when Guardians of the Galaxy came back. I remember, I think I have an issue like years ago when I was collecting comics because I think I mentioned it before, I was a huge Ghost Rider fan. And so I remember like getting a Guardians of the Galaxy book that probably came out in the 80s, and I thought it was Ghost Rider, but I think it was just like the Spirit of Vengeance that was in there. But like my young mind, I just thought they were I mean, yes, they're kind of one and the same, but it wasn't like Danny Ketch Ghost Rider that I thought it was going to be. But that Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't Rocket, of course, and Groot. That 2008 Guardians of the Galaxy is totally different than the old Guardians of the Galaxy. So when this movie was coming out, I was like, who is this Guardians of the Galaxy? Who are these characters? And Matt was right when he said, like, Rocket now has become probably one of the most recognizable characters coming out of the MCU, and everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. This foul-mouthed raccoon that is just, you know, you can't help but, I don't want to say hate him because nobody hates him, but like, you know, he's always just, you know, crude and all that. But like, once you've gone through the story, his story in the MCU, especially after Guardians 3, I mean, you can't help but love the character. Like, he's just this lovable, I don't know. He's like that just crazy cousin you have, or crazy uncle or whatever, that is just, you know, always swearing, always saying these things, but you just know he's got a great heart and you just love him. So,
yeah. Same for me. I did not know really any of the Guardians, the quote Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, there do always seem to be changing a bit. You know, there are members that come and go, similar to the Avengers, you know, in the Guardians. But I did not know any. I never heard of the phrase Guardians of the Galaxy until the movie. You know, and so you know, Rocket being in that, and then, you know, when I started reading comics, you know, fueled by the hype of the MCU, I, you know, read several Guardian series, but if there's one event that always gets brought up when we do these, seemingly, and it is the King in Black. Man. Like, if you want to get into comics and you want to learn about some of these like characters and heroes, King in Black is, like, of the more modern comics, is probably the best thing you could read, because in the whole event, right? It's like there's just like mini series throughout the whole thing.
Thank you, Donnie Cates.
Yes, yeah, for setting that up so much. But yeah, King in Black is incredible.
And you can, you know, with Marvel Unlimited, you can go through and read all that. I mean, I know we mention Marvel Unlimited all the time here on the show, but it's a great way to catch up on all that. They have great reading lists in there. You can go in and, you know, a lot of times they either have a free trial, or you can just get even 1 month for free and read pretty much a lot of comics you can kind of probably get through in 1 month. So I always recommend to people, or I mean, we've said it here and before too on the show, like, check your local library. Check those apps where you can actually get digital comics out from your libraries. You might be able to find, you know, some good like collections of all those.
The only thing I was going to mention is that I looked up a picture of this Rocket Raccoon from what was it, 1961. Have you ever seen this thing? What he looks like?
Totally different.
Yeah, I mean, he's like kind of bigger and just like weird looking, but he's holding this thing, and he's holding this weapon in this photo that I'm looking at. And this is a callback to just kind of the stuff that we've done together as a group. But when we played D&D together, I've played a gnome sorcerer whose name is Marv. And his weapon is what we have dubbed the gun wand, which is a gun with a wand shoved in the end of it. And that looks like what he's holding in this thing.
That's amazing. So that's where you got the idea
gun
from.
Wand. So it's incredible.
That's awesome.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. So let's see. We did get a request. And, of course, we get multiple requests over on Spotify. But the one we're going with for next week, this one came to us on Spotify from Evan-CA. So Evan from Canada, maybe. He says, can you do the lore for Magneto? I'm interested in what comics to see, or which comics to read to see more of the character. So next week, we will be breaking down the lore of Magneto, which is a character that I know all of you out there know this character, but man, there's some good stuff in there. You know, he's a villain, he's not a villain, he's an anti-villain, he's all over the place. He's got a crazy history and some awesome stories, and he's just honestly one of the coolest characters in Marvel. So look forward to that next week. I know Matt will have a lot to bring to the table with Magneto. So yeah, it should be pretty good. All right. Well, that's going to be it for the lore segment this week. Let's move on to our final segment, the part of the show where we get you involved that we call our what ifs. All right. Well, remember, if you want to be a part of the show, the best way to get in contact with us is, of course, over on Spotify. You can leave a comment over there. We pull these comments from there, but also we pull these from the email too. So you can always email us at rivalsassemblepod@gmail.com. Or of course you can even message us over on Twitter or Blue Sky at rivalsassemble. First one we have here, this one comes to us from angel.m22, and they say, great episode, in reference to last week's episode. They said, what are y'all thoughts on the fact that developers have been putting fake champions so leakers get thrown off and find out who the leaker is? So what do you think of this, dude? I actually kind of looked into this, and I saw there was a story over on IGN, and I think this is kind of what fueled a lot of this, or at least IGN at least kind of pulled a lot of it together. There was some clips from, or screenshots from the Discord, some clips from Twitter of people basically saying, you know, we're getting all these heroes being leaked. And maybe this is where a lot of these videos that I'm saying over on YouTube, where everybody's like, a big Marvel update, and, you know, all these things that are out there. Because, and I'm not going to go through the list because, again, we don't talk about leaks here on the podcast. But you can go out there and find these lists. And I even remember when the alpha came out, there was a lot of these characters that I'm seeing here are characters that were rumored to be within the code. And essentially, I think that's what it is. It's a lot of these characters have been data mined in there. And so the idea that people think is that it's ways to throw people off. Do you think that's what it is? Or do you think it's just like kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say place setters for things to come. Like, I don't know. I don't buy it that they're intentionally doing it to find out who the leakers are. I don't buy that. I don't know
that I do either, because maybe they are, you know, and that's fine. You know, I think that that's hilarious. But also, like, my thought is, like, does that actually do anything? You know, it creates more chaos, but and there's always going to be another leaker. Right. I don't think that I wish that it didn't happen. You know, I what Matt says in the chat, to lock them all up, you know, lock up all the leakers,
or tell Guan to put his FBI hat on.
Sure. There we go. The banhammer will come for you all.
And his name is Guan.
Because it's like, this is a game. This is because we know already so many of the heroes that could be in this game. It's like people would be like, oh, today we're having this one. It's like, you watch a video and you're like, how do you know that? You know, where did you get this information?
You know how they know it? Because they've read Marvel comics. Like, literally, that's what I'm like. The sky's the limit. Is Gambit going to be in the game? Probably at some point.
Yeah.
Is Daredevil? Yeah, probably at some point.
Technically, if you really want to think about it, none of these leaks are leaks, because eventually they're all going to be in the game.
Right.
If you wait long enough, you know, it's really not going to matter. But it is a nice surprise to see, like, that's what it ruins. It's like, yeah, we're all going to get them. They're all going to be there. But like, for now, but we don't know what they're going to look like in Marvel Rivals, because they all have a very unique style. And that's what gets it for me, is like, what's Gambit going to look like whenever
and what's his kit going to be? To me, that's more what it is. Like, okay, these characters are going to be in there. I know most of them are going to be there. How are they going to play? Like, what are their abilities going to be? What is that going to do? Like, seeing Mr. Fantastic for the first time and seeing him in motion, it was like, wow. And then seeing him be able to kind of become this big wall and walk around like a goofball, bouncing things up, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, I didn't think he would have that. Or Invisible Woman to drop these like contact lenses that are huge down on the screen that are a shield. Wow, bubbles. That's great. Yeah. Like, that's the things that I think are surprising. And the leakers aren't giving us any of that. So they want to go get clickbait, whatever.
That's all it is. And it sucks. I don't like, even if that is what they're doing, even if like they're putting in the fake stuff, I don't know that it stops it, you know, like completely. Maybe it slows it down. It's kind of funny and it sucks for them, but I don't know.
Didn't we have like was it like episode 1 or 2? I remember there was an article somewhere of one of the
Yes.
developers
They
talking
talked about how
this.
they hated leakers.
They
And
hate
thought
it,
it was
and
not
I
good
get
for the
that.
game.
You know, like
Yeah.
you know, let the devs celebrate their reveal. Matt says that over in the chat. You know, like come on, give them that. And I even remember this like back to the Destiny, the Guardian Radio days. It was like, you know, there would be things that working with that company, kind of with Guardian Radio, and kind of knowing people at the studio, let's say, and knowing things that are coming, like we never talked about it on the show, but then you would see like other outlets and that would start putting things and leaking things out there. And it's like, don't do that. Like, come on, man. Like, let this stuff be just kind of organically come out, man.
Destiny even kind of tested some stuff in some recent to see kind of how players would react to it, where they would not put out a single bit of information about a patch until the day that it came out. It was like you would not get a trailer for a patch until patch day, because they wanted that hype to be there versus like because there's also this other thing that happens with speculation where it's like if you put it out there, people speculate, they get all these ideas in their mind, and then it's like not as good as what people have come up with, and so people are let down. Here's a random Pokemon example, because that's another part of my life that I'm super into right now. Is that like evolutions in Pokemon? They have said that they are not making any more of those because that fans have created too many of them and they can never live up to fan expectations. So there's just not going to be another one because people have made so many others of like, this is what I would want this evolution to be. So it's kind of like that of like you put it out there too quickly, and the hype changes. So
yeah. It's interesting. We'll see. This is one of those things that, like I said, it fuels that YouTube clickbait, TikTok mind, I think. But it's like, come on, man. Like you're not doing any favors for anybody here. So I don't know. I hope we don't see. I mean, I guess it's one thing for these people to put these videos about like heroes potentially coming, but I hope like abilities and things like that, because that to me is really the sad part, or like the full on season. Like I don't want to see that stuff until they're ready to reveal it officially to us. I don't want maps spoiled. I don't want the whole season spoiled. I don't want that stuff. I try to avoid all that as much as I can. And like we've said here on the show, we're not going to talk about that stuff here on the show. If you're here for all those leaks and chatter about that, like that, this is not the show for you. That's not what we do. We talk about what they're presenting us with and just enjoying what's out there that they've put out to us. So, yeah. Let's see. We got another one here. This one comes to us from Genghis Connor. And he says, I've gotten to use mostly all of the characters so far. Who, in your guys' opinion, is the most difficult one to use or one you have the most trouble with? He says that he struggles with Psylocke. Now, Neil actually sent a message because he couldn't be here on this one. And he said, Spider-Man for sure. Wish I could be good with him, but I have trouble with positioning and singling people out successfully. What is the optimal use of the projectile tracer buff shot? In between your other hits? Is kind of what he's asking. And, I kind of got to agree with him. I think Spider-Man is, I would think, probably the most difficult. And that's kind of my issue, too, is like trying to single people out, because that's what works the best with him. If you can get those web shots, which puts that tracer on, and then when you do your pull, you pull yourself to them and then kind of give that uppercut and get your couple little punches, you can take people out in like 2 or 3 shots. But that's always a problem that I have, is like getting to that back line, finding that person to take out, and usually by the time I try to jump somebody, I'm just dead.
Yeah, watching good Spider-Man players though, it just fills me with envy, because I'm like, I'll never be able to do what this guy's doing. This person's doing for Spider-Man. Yeah. That one's up there. I think another one for me is Loki. I really like Loki, and I've been trying to play him a bit more because the skin you get in the battle pass is incredible. I'm awful with Loki. Like he's got a lot going on, and you don't want me healing you if I'm on your team with Loki.
Yeah, I think my problem with him is like my mind can't really grasp where to place my other Lokis, I guess.
It's a lot to
optimize health.
Yeah.
The only thing that I've been trying to do, because same thing, man, I've been playing him more now that I have that skin, because it's awesome. I actually had it on like my menu for a while just because it looks so cool. Even though I like never played it, but I just had it up there. But like I try to do kind of like what I do with Namor, where I just launch my turrets like just past the front line. I just throw it like way in the back just to really just kind of antagonize them. So that's kind of how I've been playing Loki, is same thing, just putting my, what do you want to call it? My clone or
clones
as far out as I can. But then by doing that, a lot of times you're not positioning it properly. You know, you're not
Probably
like optimizing your healing or even damage. And so it's like, am I playing him right? I don't know. But I thought I'll play him when I know I have like, where there's another strategist and I know they're going to be doing the primary healing. So I can kind of get in there and just play him. Because if I'm going to be the one like that needs to be healing, I'm not playing him at all. Like he's not the one. I don't feel comfortable that I can get enough heals with him.
Same.
Let's see. This next one comes to us from John. And he says, I've seen some mention that the characters in game fit some eras of the books better than others. Are there any characters y'all wish gave an experience closer to your mental image of them? He said, for me, it's Hawkeye. He never misses unless I'm playing him in Rivals. Then he never hits. He says, I kind of wish his kit and I wish his kit had the dagger aimbot primary for less damage. But there were more utility arrows that set the character apart, like stun arrows, immobilize, blind, etc. I think that'd be pretty sweet if they gave him a little bit more. I mean, what do you have right now? You have the 3 kind of blast arrow that he shoots, and then the kind of charge up one that goes forward. But I think stun arrows would be great. Some sort of immobilize, blind would be awesome. And even if I don't want to say you give him that whole toolkit, but if you could almost create like another little screen for him where you pick the arrows. I mean, imagine being able to go into a domination match and on that screen you pick Hawkeye, and then like maybe in the room where you're kind of getting ready with your team and doing your sprays and all your emotes and all that, you pick like 2 or 3 arrows to bring in.
That's whenever Overwatch adds their groundbreaking talent changes to the game, and then Rivals eventually does the same thing. You've got talents for different arrows.
Yes, that's it. And maybe give Black Widow a little something too. Give her a couple of shots.
Hopefully so. I think I had to read this question a couple times to grasp it. I think of what doesn't fit my perception of how the character should be. The first thing that comes to mind is Venom. I like playing Venom, but whenever I first played Venom in the game, I was like, this just doesn't really feel like Venom to me. Of just kind of like shooting out the tendrils, and I kind of want to punch people in the face and bite people, and stuff like that. You know, the little tendrils coming out of the back don't really do it for me. And for my Venom, put me in my Venom skin. You know, so fun.
I think Hulk was one that always people had. I never really had too much of an issue. I mean, it is still kind of weird that he's able to just jump down and throw like bubble shields on people. It's still kind of a weird thing that you can do that. But I think they could, maybe fix him a little bit. I've always said, and they may do this with Thing, but I always thought it would be cool if you could reach down and like grab a piece of the ground or grab a piece of a building and toss it. There's a character was in Paragon, and he's in Predecessor, Rampage, and he's just kind of this big like hulking guy. Kind of almost looks like the way he moves is like a big gorilla, kind of like on all fours. But you add one of his stun abilities is he reaches down and grabs like a big chunk of the earth and tosses it. And I always just thought that would just be a cool thing for Hulk. And I could see them maybe doing that with Thing just because it would be rocks. But I don't know, because it would be a great way. Like right now, yes, you do have that stun that you can do, but it just kind of doesn't make sense. Where I think that would be cool if his stun was that, and then this way it also has some range to it where you're able to.
It's more of like a banner thing, It's kind of like he's Hulk, but he's still doing like sciencey stuff,
right?
Which when he's Hulk, he's not Banner.
Yeah, he's not Banner. He hates Banner. So I don't know. That's where I got for that. Let's see. We got one from Mark Asbury, and he says, "Hey guys, I'm going to keep asking questions as much as I can." LOL. I think Mark, you've asked a lot of questions, and we pulled them out, but it's great, man. We love getting you here on the show. He says, "So my question for this week is: I was playing playing a few comp matches, and people would just quit." And he said, "This was in gold. So do you think they should do the thing like League of Legends, where if everyone on the team forfeits, you just end the game and don't lose SR?"
They have this, right? Well, you still lose rank, but you can surrender.
Yeah. But I think he's saying that someone quit and quits, then everybody does that.
Yeah. I mean, yes, is the answer. I see no reason as to why you would argue someone losing from your team, I mean, that just kind of sucks for everybody.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the one thing I think and why maybe is because sometimes when somebody leaves, it doesn't always mean they quit. They could actually disconnect.
That's fair.
And the game lets you actually I'm playing on PC. My game, sometimes it's crashed, and I've had it happen in a comp match. Game crashes, quickly open it back up, get back in, and it asks you, hey, you were in a match, you want to rejoin. So I think they kind of leave that open, and the longer they leave that open, the longer that match is gone. And then at that point, it's like, did this person really quit? or did they just disconnect? And so it's just
Yeah.
It-
I guess there would have
it
to
just
be a
sucks.
time. There would have to be, if they were to do that, there would have to be a time
a time
because
frame on it,
eventually,
right?
eventually you won't be able to join the game. Like I don't know if like could you join it at any time? Like if that happens, you disconnect at the end of the game and you're gone
don't
for like
know.
5 minutes, can you still come back in? Probably not. I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think if they're after that amount of time is over, and you know after that amount of time is over, I think that you know you could vote to surrender and that it wouldn't count negatively for anybody.
Yeah. So I don't know what that time frame is, but I'm sure there's something there right now. Let's see, we got another one from Noah Riley, and he says, "Will we be getting more MCU skins? Like, will one character have multiple MCU skins?" He says, "Because there's so many different skins we could have, or just one character. It would be a great moneymaker too. I'm just saying." So I mean, the first one that comes to mind to me is Captain America. Like, give us, MCU, what not Endgame, Infinity War Cap, where he's got like the Wakandan shield. Give us, Civil War Cap. There's so many different Winter Soldier. There's so many different ones you could do.
Yeah.
I don't know if we will, but it'd be a moneymaker because they sure as hell could.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, they're kind of doing this. I mean, there's Iron Man has a different suit in like every movie,
every single one.
So they could, I really like the Iron Man 3 suit. That's a cool one. But so that would be an easy one. But I think that for me, I'm not drawn much to the MCU skins because it's just like I want something new. Like I like the stuff that's different. But they are great. But yeah,
I
they
almost
always add
like the MCU MVP screens more than I like.
yeah, because they're almost kind of like a clip and a nod to
'Cause they're
all the
awesome.
movies.
Like-
yeah,
Like that was the Iron Man one. It's just like by buying that bundle, I got the animated Iron Man nameplate, which is all I ever have equipped because I just love seeing that. I love Iron Man, and then that MVP screen, dude. When you get MVP with that, it is just sick, dude.
it's one of the best ones.
And it, he's up there. He's got the repulsors out. He's just blasting everything. And then at the very end, you see the snap with the Infinity Gauntlet,
the Iron Gauntlet.
It's just awesome. But hey, again, Noah, like, yes, they could definitely make more money. Will we be getting it? Again, I don't know. I would think if they run out of ideas, but the way they've gone so far, their track record, I don't know if they're going to run out of ideas. Like they've been putting
There's
things
plenty.
out that is just, wow. I never in a million years thought we'd be getting in this game. So we'll see. Final one's more just a comment. And this one comes to us from D Jones. And he says, "I don't get the love for Moon Knight. He's good, but he only seriously pops off if the enemy team has stage 9 glaucoma and 12th degree cauliflower ear and can neither see nor hear the Ankh. The Ankh basically dies if you even look at it." So I'll say this. He won our poll. And I think if you play against a good Moon Knight, they can definitely own you, dude. And I don't even know if it's just the Ankh. Like if they know where to place the Ankh, number one, because sometimes you don't even know it's there until you're dead. But I really think it's his ult right now is what it is. It's not really the Ankh as much. Like I think season 0 Moon Knight, it was the Ankh that was doing the more damage. I think now here in season 1, of course the Ankh is building up that ult, but just his straight up little moon rings, whatever we want to call them. And when that ultimate hits, dude, he's just
that and his movement. Like if you watch the pro players play Moon Knight, like he's just all over the place. He's just like so twitchy and everywhere because of his jump and his glide and the little thing you can do with his grapple. And he's they play him almost, how you would like a diver Spider-Man, where it's like he's just tough to hit and he's all over the place. So it's fun to watch.
Yeah, if you get good placement, I think with Moon Knight, you definitely just own with him for sure. So, All right, well, dude, we're at like an hour and a half, so not quite the hour 45, so pretty good.
Fine.
We did pretty good, I think. But yeah, so quick wrap up here, guys. As always, big thank you here for tuning into the show. Like I said, go over to Spotify. Answer our poll over there. Which character needs a buff? We have Magneto, Mr. Fantastic, Black Widow, or Jeff. Let us know what you think, and we'll give you that reveal next week. We're also going to be doing some Magneto lore next week, so Matt will be giving you that. The lore dump, which he loves for me to say that if you listen to the lore this week. We'll be doing that. Anything here at the end of the show? Kenz, you want to throw out any?
Yeah, I think I think we're good. Get your votes in for the Buffs.
For sure. One quick thing I do want to throw out here, dude. I do want to send some condolences to friends and family and all those affected by the tragic air accident that happened yesterday in Washington, D.C. here in the States. I think that, seeing that, it is a little bit of a reminder for everybody out there to make sure to, tell those in your life that you love them, because, you never know when things can go south like that. So basically what I'm saying is call your mom, tell her you love her, call your parents, you know what I mean?
It's usually a good idea.
Some people
you can put rivals down for a couple minutes.
Yes. And even in the comp chat, you don't need to be so toxic. Every once in a while, it's okay to be nice to each other. You can do that because again, you never know what's going to happen. So, and again, all our condolences go out to those affected by that. I did just want to throw that out there. So, with that, everybody, like I said, you can always email us, rivalsassemblepod@gmail.com. Leave us comments over on Spotify. Big thank you to everybody over in the chat. We saw you guys, all your comments over there. Thank you here for messaging us here while we've been recording. And we do the show live on Thursday nights between 9:30 and 10 o'clock over on Twitch and YouTube at Rivals Assemble Pod. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Rivals Assemble. And of course, if you are listening to the podcast, whether it's on YouTube, on Spotify or on iTunes, be sure to leave us a review over there. We appreciate it. So with that, guys, that's it for episode 13. And until next time, we'll catch you later.
See ya.